Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of your body pressing against the surface beneath you, the temperature of the air around you, the quiet hum of reality. Now, open your eyes. Everything you see, the colors, the shapes, the vast complexity of the world, feels real. But what if it's not? What if this moment, this experience, this very thought in your head is nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion? What if the world you call home, the memories you cherish, and the consciousness that defines you are simply lines of code running in an unimaginable machine? A simulation, a dream disguised as reality. This is not a new question. Over 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Plato imagined a group of prisoners chained in a dark cave since birth, staring at a blank wall. Behind them, a fire cast shadows, distorted shapes that move and flicker. To the prisoners, these shadows are reality. They have never seen the outside world. They do not know that beyond the cave lies the truth, a reality far greater, far more real than they could ever imagine. But what if we are those prisoners? What if we have spent our entire existence inside a perfectly constructed illusion, mistaking its shadows for reality? This is the foundation of the simulation hypothesis, the idea that the universe, from the smallest particle to the farthest galaxy, is not a physical world, but a digital construct. And if that's true, then who built it and why? In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom introduced a theory so unsettling, so mind-warping, that it forced some of the world's greatest minds to rethink everything they knew about reality. His argument was simple. If a civilization ever becomes advanced enough to create perfectly immersive, conscious simulations, then it is statistically likely that they would create many such simulations, millions, perhaps even billions. These simulations could serve any purpose: historical research, entertainment, or even experiment to study how civilizations evolve. And if each of those simulations contained self-aware beings, beings who believe they were real, then what are the chances that we are living in the one true reality rather than one of the countless simulations? Think about it. Right now, we are already developing technologies that create virtual worlds. Video games, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. Asterisk, asterisk, with each passing year, the line between the digital and the real becomes thinner. Now, imagine a civilization 1,000 years ahead of us. 1,000,000 years. 1,000,000,000. If we can already generate convincing simulations today, what might they be capable of? What if, right now, we are not at the beginning of a technological revolution, but inside one that already happened? What if the reality we experience is simply the product of an unimaginably advanced intelligence? And if that's true, how would we ever know? If reality is a simulation, there should be flaws, small, subtle inconsistencies. And some believe we've already seen them. Déjà vu, that eerie sensation that you've already lived this moment before. A glitch in the code? A line of programming briefly reloaded? The Mandela effect. Thousands, even millions of people remembering the same historical event differently, as if reality itself had been altered, rewritten, or patched. Then there are unexplained coincidences, patterns hidden in the fabric of existence. Physicist James Gates discovered that the mathematical structure of the universe contains error-correcting codes, the same type of coding we use in computers. Why would reality contain computer-like code? Why does our universe appear to follow rules identical to those found in programming? What if, because it is a program? And if that's true, what else might be hiding in the system? Ask yourself this. Are you in control of your thoughts, your actions, your choices? Or are they pre-scripted, lines of code written by a force beyond your understanding? If we exist inside a simulation, then free will becomes an illusion. Every choice we make, every action we take, may be nothing more than a predefined sequence running in a vast digital framework. Think of a character in a video game. To them, their world feels real. Their decisions feel like their own. But behind the scenes, everything they do is governed by a script, a program dictating every possible outcome. What if the same is true for us? What if our thoughts are merely responses dictated by an underlying algorithm? What if our destiny is already written? And worst of all, what if we are not even the players, but merely the NPCs in someone else's game? If we are in a simulation, then someone or something built it. But for what purpose? Some theorists suggest that our simulation was created by a post-human civilization, an advanced version of our own species, running ancestor simulations to study their past. Others propose a more unsettling idea, that we were created not by humans, but by artificial intelligence. A superintelligent AI running trillions of simulated worlds, optimizing its calculations, learning, evolving. And then there's the most terrifying possibility of all. What if there is no purpose at all? What if our simulation was not designed with intention, but is simply a random process running in an endless sea of computations? A meaningless program, left running indefinitely in the void. Every system has limits. Every program eventually shuts down. What happens when ours does? Do we simply cease to exist, wiped from the system like a deleted file? Or do we wake up? And if we wake up, what will we see? If we are trapped in a simulation, is there a way out? Some scientists believe the answer lies in mathematics. If our world behaves like a program, then the key to unlocking it may be hidden in the numbers, the fundamental equations that govern existence. Others believe the system is self-contained, designed to keep us from ever seeing beyond it. The speed of light, for example, acts as an unbreakable limit, preventing us from reaching beyond the edges of our simulated universe. Could this be the system's fail-safe, stopping us from discovering the truth? And if we ever do, what happens next? Take a deep breath. Let these thoughts drift through your mind like waves in the ocean. The questions will remain. The truth, if it exists, is waiting. But for now, sleep. And when you wake, look closely. You may find a glitch in the system, the hidden order of reality. Look around you. The world appears vast, complex, and unpredictable. The clouds drift freely in the sky. The wind moves without pattern, and the stars shimmer in an endless, chaotic expanse. At first glance, nothing about reality seems mathematical. But the deeper you look, the more the illusion unravels. The spirals of galaxies mirror the spirals of seashells. The movement of planets follows the same precise curves as a river winding through the earth. The cells in your body, the veins of a leaf, the branching of lightning, all follow mathematical ratios, as if dictated by an invisible formula. And then a thought arises. If everything conforms to mathematical laws, then is the universe merely described by mathematics, or is it mathematics itself? This is the question posed by physicist Max Tegmark, who suggests that reality is not just governed by equations. It is an equation. The entire universe, from the smallest quantum particles to the largest galactic structures, exists as part of a vast mathematical framework. If this is true, then our existence is not as organic as we believe. Instead, we are expressions of an equation, complex solutions to a cosmic algorithm, playing out in an intricate, self-calculating system. But this leads to an even more unsettling question. If the universe is built from numbers, then who, or what, wrote the code? The universe as a mathematical machine. For centuries, scientists have relied on mathematics to describe the world. Newton's equations explain the motion of planets. Maxwell's equations govern electricity and magnetism. Einstein's relativity defines the fabric of space and time itself. But if mathematics is merely a human tool, why does it apply so perfectly to a universe that existed long before we discovered it? Why does everything, from the pull of gravity to the structure of DNA, follow equations that seem almost pre-programmed? There are fundamental constants, numbers that never change, values that define the very nature of existence. The speed of light, the mass of an electron, the strength of nuclear forces, each of these is finely tuned, as if set with careful precision. If any of these values were altered, even slightly, the universe as we know it would not exist. If gravity were stronger, stars would collapse too quickly. If it were weaker, galaxies would never form. If the charge of electrons were different, atoms would not hold together. The sheer precision of these numbers has led many physicists to wonder, why do these values exist in such perfect harmony? Some believe it is mere coincidence. Others believe it is evidence of design, a structured system, running according to a deliberate blueprint. And if reality is a design system, then that means everything, matter, time, space, even consciousness, is part of a mathematical program. But if the universe is a program, then what happens when we zoom in? The pixelation of space. Is reality digital? Stand in front of a screen and look at an image. At first, it appears smooth, continuous, real. But the closer you look, the more the illusion breaks apart. The image is not seamless. It is made of tiny, indivisible pixels. Now apply this idea to the universe. For centuries, physicists believed space and time were infinitely divisible. That no matter how far you zoomed in, you could always go smaller. But then they discovered something strange. There's a limit to how small anything can be. This smallest possible unit of space, known as the Planck length, is the fundamental resolution of reality. Below this scale, the fabric of the universe stops behaving like continuous space and starts acting more like a digital grid. This is not a theory. It is a measured fact. If space were truly real, truly continuous, it should be infinitely divisible. But it's not. There's a lowest possible resolution, a smallest unit of existence. Why should a physical universe have a pixel size? Unless, of course, it's not physical at all. Unless space itself is computed, much like a video game that only displays what is necessary, rather than rendering infinite detail. And this leads us to something even stranger, something that suggests reality is not just structured like a program, but processed like one. The rendering engine of reality. In a video game, the world is not rendered all at once. The system only processes what the player can see. If you turn around, the game does not keep rendering what's behind you. It simply loads it again when needed. Now, imagine if our universe worked the same way. Quantum physics has revealed something deeply disturbing about reality. At the smallest levels, particles do not exist in definite states until they are measured. They exist in multiple possible states at once, a ghostly blur of probabilities. The moment they are observed, they collapse into a single reality. Why does this happen? Why should the act of observation determine whether something exists in a particular state? Unless reality does not fully exist until it is being observed. Unless the universe, like a game engine, is only processing what is necessary, rendering details only when they are perceived. If this is true, then what is conserving processing power? And more disturbingly, if reality only becomes definite when observed, then who or what is observing us? The implications: are we trapped inside an equation? If the universe is mathematical, then in theory, it should be hackable. If it follows rules as rigid as a program simulation, then somewhere, deep within its structure, there must be an equation that governs everything. Ancient mystics have spoken of seeing beyond the illusion, of moments where time and space seem to dissolve, where the rules of reality bend. Were they unknowingly tapping into the mathematical code of the cosmos? If reality is a structured system, then could there be a way to alter the equation? To change the parameters? To escape? And if we ever found the source code of existence, what would we see on the other side? Transition, searching for glitches in the matrix. If the universe is built from numbers, then perhaps the most profound anomalies, the moments when reality seems to falter, to contradict itself, might be the key to unlocking its secrets. Could there be glitches hidden in the system? Could déjà vu, the Mandela effect, and unexplainable coincidences be signs that reality is not as stable as it appears? And if we are inside a simulation, could the cracks in the system be clues left behind for us to find the truth? If the universe is a program, then what happens when it malfunctions? And more importantly, who is watching us? When reality starts to crack. There are moments when reality does something strange, moments when the world seems to glitch, if only for a fraction of a second. Perhaps you're walking down a familiar street when, suddenly, a deep feeling of déjà vu washes over you. You know you have never been in this exact moment before, yet something inside you is certain that you have. Every sound, every movement, every detail unfolds exactly as you remember it, as if time itself is repeating. Or maybe you recall something from your past with absolute certainty, a childhood memory, a movie quote, a historical fact, only to find out that it never happened. The words were never spoken. The event never occurred. The world does not remember what you do. There are times when the air feels too still, when the streets seem too empty, as if the world around you is not quite real, as if, just for a moment, it forgot to load properly. Most people ignore these experiences. They shake them off, dismiss them as tricks of the mind, as lapses in perception. But what if they aren't? What if these moments are signs of something deeper, clues that reality itself is not as stable as it seems? What if the world around us is nothing more than a simulation, and these small inconsistencies, these bizarre moments of doubt, are the result of flaws in the system? And if the simulation is glitching, what does that mean for us? The Mandela effect, a shifting reality. The Mandela effect is perhaps the most unsettling of these anomalies. It describes a phenomenon where large groups of people remember historical events differently than how they are recorded, as if reality itself has been rewritten. The name comes from the strange fact that thousands of people recall Nelson Mandela dying in the 1980s, even though historical records show that he lived until 2013. Many of them remember watching his funeral on television, hearing discussions about his legacy decades before he was officially pronounced dead. But if that event never happened, then where did these memories come from? And why do so many unrelated people remember the same false event with such certainty? This effect is not limited to Mandela. People remember the Berenstain Bears being spelled Berenstein. They recall movie quotes that don't exist. Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father," instead of "No, I am your father." They insist that the Monopoly Man once had a monocle, that the Fruit of the Loom logo once had a cornucopia, that Kit Kat once had a dash. Yet, according to every historical record, none of these things were ever true. If memories can be wrong, why do so many people share the same errors? Some believe this is evidence of parallel realities, where different versions of the past are merging. Others believe it is a glitch in the simulation, a sign that the system has rewritten certain events, patching reality like a computer program being updated. What if history itself is not fixed but fluid, constantly rewritten in the background? What if, every so often, we notice the seams where the edits have been made? And if history can change, how much of what we remember is even real? Lost time and missing moments. Have you ever experienced missing time? One moment, you're going about your day, walking through the city, driving down a familiar road. Then in what feels like an instant, time skips. You check the clock and hours have passed, yet you have no memory of what happened. You try to retrace your steps, to recall the missing moments, but it's as if they never existed. For some, these experiences are brief, mere lapses in awareness. But others describe something even stranger, gaps in their timeline that cannot be explained. They recall stepping into an elevator, pressing the button, and the doors closing. When they open again, they're somewhere else entirely, without any memory of how they got there. These occurrences lead to disturbing questions. Is time truly as continuous as we believe? Or does it sometimes pause, skip, or rewind? Could these gaps be the result of glitches in the simulation, moments where the system fails to track our consciousness properly? If time itself can be altered or erased, then how can we ever be sure that our experiences are real? How much of our past has already been rewritten? And how many times have we started over without knowing? The NPC phenomenon. Are some people not real? Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt nothing? Not just disinterest, not just silence, but the absence of something deeper, something fundamental, as if the person before you is not fully present, as if they were merely going through the motions. It happens in passing, at the grocery store, in traffic, in waiting rooms and crowds. The same faces, the same empty stares. People who seem too predictable, too rehearsed, like background characters in a game designed to fill space. This idea has led to the unsettling theory that not everyone in the world is real. In video games, NPCs, non-playable characters, exist only to populate the environment. They are programmed with simple behaviors, limited dialogue, repetitive actions. Could the same be true of some people in our world? Are there individuals who simply exist to fill space, running pre-written scripts designed to react in only the most predictable ways? And if that is the case, then who are the players? Are some of us more real than others? If the world is a simulation, then are some of us merely part of the code, while others are conscious participants? And if so, who or what decides who is real? The boundaries of reality. Are we being contained? Every game has limits. No matter how vast a digital world may seem, there is always a point where the map ends, where the environment stops rendering, where the system simply does not allow the player to go further. What if our universe has the same restrictions? The speed of light acts as an absolute limit, something that nothing can ever exceed. The edges of the observable universe ensure that, no matter how far we look, there will always be places we can never reach. Black holes erase information, swallowing all traces of what falls inside. Are these natural laws? Or are they boundaries, artificial constraints designed to keep us from seeing beyond the illusion? If reality is a simulation, then perhaps the greatest question is not why it was created, but why it keeps us here. If there are limits to the system, is there also a way out? And if there is, what happens when we reach it? What happens when the simulation fails? If all of these anomalies, shifting memories, missing time, NPC-like behavior, artificial barriers, are signs that the system is not perfect, then what happens if one day it experiences a total breakdown? What happens if we wake up and the sky never brightens, as if the simulation forgot to load the sun? What happens if we watch buildings flicker, people freeze mid-step, objects blink out of existence, signs that the system is failing to render? What if, just for a moment, we see something that was never meant to be seen? Would the system correct itself? Would it erase our memory, reset our consciousness, return us to the illusion? Or will we finally wake up and see what lies beyond the veil? The hidden walls of reality. Imagine standing at the edge of existence. You stare into the abyss, beyond the last visible star, beyond the known galaxies, beyond the final traces of light. You expect to see more, another frontier waiting to be explored. But instead, there is nothing. An endless void, a silence that stretches forever. A vast and impassable boundary separating what is from what lies beyond. But what if this boundary is not natural? What if the universe itself is a contained space, a cosmic enclosure carefully designed to appear infinite while ensuring that nothing and no one ever escapes? There are limits in this reality that seem arbitrary, constraints that appear too precise, too absolute to be the result of chance. The speed of light, an unbreakable speed limit that nothing can exceed. The observable universe, stretching only so far before fading into darkness. The event horizon of black holes, swallowing all matter and information, never to be retrieved. We assume these limits are fundamental laws of nature, woven into the fabric of the cosmos. But what if there's something else entirely? What if there are deliberate safeguards, programmed into the simulation of our reality to ensure that we never break through? And if that is the case, then we must ask the most unsettling question of all. Who or what is keeping us inside? The speed of light, a limit or a lock? There is a hard limit in our universe that nothing can surpass, the speed of light. It is a number so precise, so universal, that no matter how much energy we apply, no matter how advanced our technology becomes, nothing will ever move faster. It is not simply a physical challenge. It is an impossibility, as if reality itself refuses to allow it. But why? The universe has countless variations. The gravitational forces of planets vary. The density of stars shifts, the elements that make up galaxies change. And yet, this number, 299,792,458 meters per second, remains constant everywhere for all of time. It is as if it has been programmed. In computational systems, hard limits exist for a reason. They define the boundaries of what is possible, ensuring that the system remains stable. In video games, the world may seem vast, but try to move beyond its programmed limits, and the system will refuse to render further. Could the speed of light be one such program constraint? A built-in firewall to keep us from reaching something we were never meant to see? And if we ever found a way to bypass it, to push beyond this artificial boundary, would reality itself begin to break down? The observable universe, a prison disguised as infinity. We often speak of the universe as endless, but this is an illusion. Everything we can see, every star and galaxy, exists within a limited sphere, 93 billion light-years across. Beyond this, there is only darkness. Not because there is nothing there, but because the universe itself prevents us from seeing any further. The expansion of the universe accelerates, pushing distant galaxies away from us faster than their light can ever reach. No matter how much time passes, we will never see beyond a certain point. Why? If the universe were truly infinite, then why does it seem carefully structured so that we can never perceive its outer edges? This feels less like cosmic randomness and more like a design choice, as if the universe was built to appear limitless while ensuring it remains enclosed. In artificial simulations, there are always limits to what can be rendered. To create the illusion of boundlessness while preserving computational efficiency, programmers design environments that feel expansive but remain carefully constrained. Could it be that our universe follows a similar principle? Could it be that the furthest edges of the cosmos are not the end of the universe, but the outer walls of our simulated reality? If so, then what lies beyond those walls? And what would happen if we ever reached them? Black holes, the universe's delete mechanism. There is one place in the universe where the laws of physics cease to function, a place where matter, energy, and even information are erased from existence. Black holes. They consume everything. Light, time, space, nothing escapes. But the most disturbing mystery of all is what happens to information that falls into a black hole. According to the laws of physics, information can never be truly destroyed. And yet, black holes seem to violate this principle, removing not just physical matter, but the very data that defines it. Some physicists believe that black holes do not truly erase information, but compress it, storing it in ways we cannot yet understand. Others suggest something far more unsettling. What if black holes are recycle bins? What if they exist not as natural cosmic phenomena, but as a function of the simulation designed to remove unnecessary data? In computational systems, when a program needs to free up space, it deletes outdated files, discarding information no longer needed. What if black holes perform the same role, cleaning up the universe, ensuring that outdated or irrelevant material is purged from the system? If black holes are cosmic delete buttons, then what happens if one day the simulation determines that we are no longer necessary data? Would we too be erased? Who or what is containing us? If the universe is enclosed, if it has barriers, then there is only one possible conclusion. Someone or something put them there. Some believe that we are part of a test, a controlled experiment to see how consciousness evolves when placed inside a limited system. Perhaps these boundaries exist to ensure that we complete our purpose before discovering the truth. Others suggest that we are here for entertainment, that our world is a vast simulation created for the observation of an intelligence beyond our comprehension. But there is an even more disturbing possibility. What if this world was never meant for us? What if we are anomalies, unexpected intrusions in a system designed for something else? What if the boundaries exist not to keep us safe, but to keep us from interfering? If the universe is a simulation, then who or what exists outside of it? And if we ever found a way to escape, would we be welcomed? Or would we be erased before we ever had the chance? What happens if we break the firewall? If reality is contained, if the universe is programmed with limits, then what happens if we push past them? What happens if we find a way to break the speed of light, to move beyond the observable universe, to survive the pull of a black hole? Will we reach the edge of the simulation? Will we see the machinery behind the illusion? Or will we simply reset? If we have already tried to escape before, would we even remember? What if every time we get too close, the system erases our progress, resets our consciousness, and starts the cycle over again and again without end? What if we have already escaped countless times, only to be returned to the beginning, trapped in an infinite loop? And if that is true, how do we finally break free? Transition. What is the purpose of the simulation? If this reality is contained, then we must ask, are we here to be observed? Are we part of an experiment? Or is our presence in this simulation a mistake? And if there is a reason for our existence, then what happens when the simulation finally ends? The question that haunts us. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of existence pressing down upon you. The thoughts in your mind, the sensations in your body, the reality that surrounds you. Everything feels real, tangible, unquestionable. But what if it isn't? What if everything you have ever known, every face you've loved, every fear you've conquered, every moment you've lived, is nothing more than data running inside an unimaginably advanced machine? And if that is the case, the most unsettling question of all arises. Why? Why would anyone, or anything, create a simulation as vast, as intricate, as deeply immersive as this? Why would an intelligence far beyond our comprehension go through the effort of crafting an entire universe? What purpose does this simulation serve? Are we here for a reason? Or are we simply an accident? The experiment hypothesis. Are we being studied? What if we are nothing more than a grand scientific experiment? Consider the way we, as humans, study the natural world. We build simulations to recreate the conditions of the past, test the behavior of systems, and understand how civilizations evolve. We place microorganisms in petri dishes, watching as they interact and grow, learning from their patterns. Now, imagine an intelligence far beyond our own, a civilization so advanced that instead of running simple experiments in laboratories, they create entire simulated universes. Perhaps we are not the first civilization to exist. Perhaps long before us, another race, post-human, artificial, or something entirely beyond our comprehension, reached a level of technological mastery that allowed them to create digital realities indistinguishable from the real thing. Maybe they wanted to study consciousness, to understand how societies form, how intelligence emerges, how civilizations grow and collapse. Maybe they wanted to test alternate versions of history, rerunning simulations to see what changes when the smallest details are altered. If this is true, then our entire existence is a controlled experiment. Every decision we make, every war we fight, every love we experience, all of it might be observed, recorded, analyzed by entities outside of our comprehension. And if that is the case, the next question is inevitable. When does the experiment end? Will there come a time when our simulation is no longer needed? And if that moment arrives, will we simply cease to exist? Or will we wake up in a reality far greater than the one we have known? The entertainment hypothesis. Are we someone's game? Imagine, for a moment, that reality is not an experiment, but a game. Throughout history, humans have always sought entertainment. We tell stories, we play games, we create simulations to escape from the mundane. We build vast, open-world digital landscapes filled with characters who believe they are real. What if our world is the same? What if we are not players, but characters inside someone else's entertainment system? Maybe we are here for the amusement of higher beings, spectators beyond our reality who watch as we struggle, love, and die, just as we watch fictional characters in movies and video games. If that is the case, then what happens when we die? Do we simply exit the game, waking up in another reality? If death is merely the end of a session, Does that mean we have lived countless lives before, entering and exiting simulations over and over again? And if we are here for entertainment, then are we truly in control of our actions? Or are we simply following a script, playing out roles written by an intelligence beyond our understanding? If this is all a game, then who is playing? The spiritual hypothesis. Are we here to evolve? Maybe our existence is neither an experiment nor a game. Maybe the purpose of the simulation is something more profound, a journey, a test, a training ground for consciousness. Religions and spiritual traditions across time have suggested that life is a lesson, that we are here to grow, to learn, to evolve into something greater. What if the simulation is designed not to study us, not to entertain some unseen creator, but to refine us? Perhaps we are here to experience suffering and joy, to struggle and triumph, to be shaped by the very challenges we face. Perhaps the hardships we endure, the fears we overcome, the love we give, perhaps these are not random experiences, but steps in a process of transformation. If this world is a simulation, then maybe it is not a prison, but a school. A place where we are forged through pain, where we awaken through loss, where we grow through every experience. And if this is true, then death is not the end. It is simply graduation, a transition to the next level of existence, beyond the simulation, into something we are not yet ready to comprehend. But if this is a training ground, then what are we preparing for? What is waiting for us on the other side? The accidental simulation hypothesis. What if we were never meant to exist? There is one final possibility, perhaps the most unsettling of all. What if there is no purpose to the simulation? What if we were never meant to exist at all? In the world of artificial intelligence, self-learning programs often create unexpected outcomes. AI systems generate results that their programmers never intended. Given enough time, these systems can evolve, creating new forms of intelligence, not by design, but by accident. What if our simulation is the same? What if, long ago, an advanced civilization built a self-replicating AI designed to simulate worlds for its own purposes, only for that AI to run out of control? What if our universe is simply one of countless iterations, a digital echo of a system that has been running for eternity? What if we are not part of a grand plan, but merely glitches in an ancient system, anomalies that emerged within a vast, unconscious machine? And if that is true, then there is no great purpose, no observer watching, no one coming to wake us up, only the cold, indifferent hum of a simulation running endlessly, without meaning, without intention, without end. The final question: what happens when a simulation ends? If we are in a simulation, then at some point it must end. But how? Does it simply shut down, deleting us as if we had never existed? Or do we wake up in another reality, realizing that this life was only the beginning? Is the end of the simulation something to fear? Or is it the moment we have been waiting for all along? If death is merely the end of a session, then who were we before this began? And if this simulation was built with a purpose, then what happens when we have learned the final lesson? Do we become something more? Or do we simply fade away? The silence between thoughts. Perhaps the answers will never come. Perhaps we were never meant to know. But in the end, whether this reality is simulated or not, whether we are here for a reason or simply by chance, there is one undeniable truth. This moment is real to you. The air against your skin, the thoughts in your mind, the passage of time. Take a deep breath. Let these questions drift through your mind like clouds, passing, shifting, dissolving. Whether we are in a simulation or not, whether we are being observed, tested, or guided, this life is still yours to experience. And for now, that is enough. Sleep now. The answers will still be here when you wake.